Cage I met in 77. And then in 79, I went to New York and took, among others, this picture, which became, much later, a cover for ECM, which is absolutely fine because I'm really, this portrait for me is very important, has been very important. Was an official portrait. I've been asked by Mimi Johnson, an agency who owned the Cage at that time, and has been the official portrait for almost 10 years. This is the same as this, the same occasion. New York, 79. I brought photos. Wow. Sono... The ambient is always important. This was taken, I think, 25 years ago. There was a series of concerts named The Sounds of Dolomites. You had to walk to reach the place, and I think Paul Giger did fit perfectly with this kind of things. This is much older, should be, if I'm not wrong, in passing recording. I think Oslo studio. This I remember as one of the more intense recordings ever. And this is a fantastic record. It's, when was it? 79, okay. Not, I thought earlier. The recording studio is a strange place. It's quite challenging also to follow the recording moment. And being in the same room, you can see that at that time was allowed to smoke in the studio. You just follow what's going on and look very intensively to catch particular moments. And the recording studio is challenging and attractive because you are really concentrated in getting good images as the musicians are concentrated to get good music for the record. And these moments are also to show that is this kind of environment because it's a mix of Jack playing in a small room, maybe with the door open, but also hidden in some kind of darkness, reflections. There is nothing tricky here. It's all what you can see through the camera. I think at the time ECM was not so concentrated in storytelling as it became later. The CD booklets, I think, were more books in a way. In the LPs or the boxes, when you have books, like in a Samber concert of Keith Jarrett, of course, you can develop really a story which mix texts and images, photos. But then I think Manfred felt more freedom to display several pictures and sequences with the CD booklets. I'm really attracted by sequences. So I often indulge on a subject to have different, you know. Dream So Real, yeah, at Ton Studio Bauer. That was really the beginning with the ECM. You do something during rehearsals and takes, but also you wait for a moment, you say, okay, now we make some portraits, now we make some group photos. And in this case, it came out this very simple idea to have start with empty view and add Gary and then Pat and then Mick and then Bob Moses, yeah, and Stevie Swallow. You develop this like in the Gary Burton Quintet inside the studio for some reasons. Who knows? I don't remember if maybe it was raining outside. We decided to spend sometimes maybe intermission, and we went outside looking for some corner, some kind of neutral background, and we decided let's say in this case we also some kind of improvised a session, finding, oh, there could be fine, and we tried that, and we tried another one, and the group was at your disposal. They were there for that, because Manfred at some point will be waiting for pictures, and you know that also that some recordings had to wait some time to be released, and so pictures maybe stayed there to be well cooked. Sometimes the artist also, some influential artists, they must have requested, like I remember this, and we did shoot this in Milano the following morning of a concert they did, and we took some time nearby the hotel or to do this kind of picture. Jack, in this case, had a quite precise idea of what he wanted. He wanted a group photo on the cover. So we arranged this situation. There is a sequence, of course, of them, unpublished, of course. This I don't remember. This I don't remember. And I don't have. These photos might be at ECM. I don't have this color. You try also sometimes, you make a cover. And you work to have an image which can stay firmly attractive on a cover. That was not the case, for instance. That was because, no, or maybe because when I was at Company Week organized by Derek Bailey and Leo was inside the group, I knew that something was going to be released on ECM. And so I took the chance to make a portrait of him solo. And came out, you see, this the artist speaks through the eyes, and there is one composition. And as you can see, people in these ECM occasions was really fine and available and easy. I think that at that time the artist could feel quite intensively that I was in charge by ECM, not passing by to get photos. but also to present not good light or not. I never been dealing with fancy kind of pictures. I always tried to meet the artist at some point. And I think the artists feel that in a humble way you want to picture them, to take a little bit of their personality and be able to have this in return on the pictures. And I never considered something so different, following an artist while recording. This is not this is a posed, of course, this is not posed, but in a way these two pictures always talk each other, relate each other. It's not it's my hand who made this. Also with Gianni Coscia or Gianluigi Trovesi, to have the chance not for a recording but following the artist. And you know, sometimes it's also good not to work in darkness. And in this kind of occasion you have a feeling of some kind of neo-realistic movies by, I don't know, I don't want to say Rossellini, but this kind of the 50s, 60s atmosphere, very popular but very joyful. And in this case you have to be careful. You have to realize that these people is far from meters. So you have to get both on focus. You have to think about just very quickly and simply. And that's why this photo I consider to be a good one. Otherwise, if you would have not noticed this technical fact, you would have only one of the two on focus. Of course, it happened to take photos of Manfred at work here in the studio in Graffelfing already, but must be 78, something like that, so very, very old. Different times I took the chance to go there and show the work and have some talks, and this was one of the very first time I went to Munich, because this is the same time in '73 where I first entered the ECM office, because was Keith Jarrett to let Manfred see the pictures I took in Bergamo during the jazz festival. And soon later I went again in Munich for this concert at America House, and came out this funny diptych. Keith is sitting at the piano and Manfred listening and watching, and then Manfred is on the piano and Keith listening and watching. It happened all to me only that time. And still this picture works and explain something between a relation of a producer and an artist, more than words. My very first pictures, the ones with Rolleiflex, these ones, this series, 69, and shooting really my first photograph. And by the way, it's the first time that Keith performed with his own trio in Europe, because he had the trio with Motion and Hayden in the States, who recorded for Atlantic, but here is the first time as a leader after Miles Davis. The fact is that to take these pictures, you had to decide to stand up from your chair, going under the stage, put the camera on the balcony and shoot. That was really challenging and embarrassing at the beginning. Then you learn how to do, but the first times is really you have to force yourself very much. So those were years of strong, let's say, music need. That was, I went to Berliner Jazztage for the first time, and in a few days of distance I was able to photograph Miles with Keith, and came out also this very iconic photo with the shadow of Miles and Keith inside the legs. It's not a perfect picture, but it has a meaning, and also refer to a time which is really past. The fact that I've been photographing an artist for such a long time allowed you to make a book out of all the material with some kind of logic or narrative power. You can depict the different aspects of one artist. Here with Manfred again, but more recently at Arena di Verona. Sometimes there was a relation, such a deeper relation with ECM, being part of going often to Munich, to the recordings, for the promotion. So sometimes either Manfred or a graphic asked, maybe you have something that can fit with this project, and that was a very exciting way of putting things together. Now is different, because now I this diciamo così, this flux is interrupted, has been interrupted, and this is not happening anymore, but it did happen a lot. Also this abstract photography, I'm very glad that there is a correspondence between my work on nature and which could take place on cover in association with music. This is different, but it's coming out from the same spirit toward nature. There were years I went to Oslo once a month. It was quite incredible to realize that. Why this man calls has to call an Italian photographer for this business? Well, you can find solutions, you can find creativity inside you which moves you to find new perspective, new approaches. But then what I always hated, and Manfred also hated, is routine. Routine, it destroys you and destroys your work. So when you go 20 times in a place, also in a recording studio, what else can you invent there? I mean, you have characters, you have musicians, you have faces, gazes, expressions, of course, but you have the same place, and the risk is enormous, I think. You can't really continue to make the same things. I'm not there for that. I never stopped listening, be interested in the production. But this doesn't mean that I have to continue to take pictures forever. Also for natures. Sometimes I make a new walk in the woods. I ask myself, shall I take more pictures or just walk?